Traveling to Consciousness, exploring spiritual journeys to find answers in uncertainty.
What is up, conscious monkeys? Welcome back to another episode of Traveling to Consciousness. As always, you guessed it, I'm your host, Clayton Terry. Today's podcast episode is actually going to be a very powerful one. Maybe one of the most powerful ones, the most useful ones for being human, for being a person, for being a soul. So if you're a person, if you're a soul, you're going to want to listen to this one. Because it's all about escaping that treadmill. It's all about living in the present moment. It's all about that art of enjoying the present moment, no matter what. So in order to get our minds in the right state of things, if you will, I want you to take a second and reflect on a problem that you had maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. First of all, do you even remember any problems you had about a year ago? And I know there's probably one that's creeping up that you've had before and that you might still have, which is money. We're going to put that one to the side for a reason. Any other problems? Maybe there's a girl that's not texting you. Maybe there's friends who aren't including you in something. Now, I want you to think back to this event and realize how real it was at the time. And yet now, I bet you haven't even thought about it in the last year or 2 years. So why is this? Why is this the case? Well, I learned about this from a businessman named Alex Hormozi. If you've heard of him, you're probably in the business space. Dude's ripped out of his mind. Probably on TRT. He's definitely on TRT. But that not to take away from his dedication to the gym and working out. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just calling a spade a spade. But if you follow him for business, he talks about it in terms of business, which is the problem-solution cycle. So you have a problem, your customer, they have a problem, you fix it for them. You create a solution. The solution inevitably brings another problem for your customer. So he talks about this in being the problem-solution cycle by every time you fix a problem for your customer, present them with the solution afterwards. Okay, you solve this problem, solutions, problem, solution. And it got me thinking and realizing, as a matter of fact, that we all have this same exact dilemma occurring within all of our lives. Period. Now go back to that idea that you had, that problem you had years ago. There's a reason that you haven't thought about it in so long. And that's because it's no longer a problem. You figured out the solution in some way, shape, or form, whether it was getting over it, whether it was passing the grade, whether it was whatever it was, you figured out the solution to it. And this is why you don't think about it anymore. So what does this mean? How does this even relate to the art of being present? It relates because it helps one to realize that there will always be another problem. Once you solve the current problem that's in front of you, there will be another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. Now, the mind can take this a negative way and say, well, what's the point? Just throw it away. Say, this is all ridiculous. And many people do that. Many people take that destructive approach of what's the point? This is all useless. And their life is all the worse for it. The people around them, their life is worse for it. But if you can utilize this knowledge of sitting in this zone of knowing that you have problems, once you solve those problems, you'll have more problems. You can start to enjoy the current problems that you have. And by enjoying the current problems you have, you'll find the solution quicker, and you'll enjoy finding the solution quicker. It reminds me of a quote by Eckhart Tolle, who is the writer of The Power of Now. If you've never read that book, highly recommend it, because it's going to do you so much more justice than this podcast will. I don't know if this quote's in that book, but the quote is, "Life is a river of change. The only thing that is constant is change. Yet in the midst of change, there is an island of serenity. The island of serenity is the present moment." So being able to just sit and enjoy the present moment without a need to go or to do anything, to realize that you'll be able to solve this problem and the next one and the next one, is where the beauty lies. And there's a technique here that I'd love to offer that has helped me so much. And that's to look at my problem, whatever the current one is, and imagine that I am me 10 years in the future, looking back on this problem and thinking about how funny it is that I took this problem so seriously. That me 10 years in the future isn't going to care about this thing that was happening right now. And then the most powerful part, this is the most powerful part, once you're looking back at this, the most powerful part is then to laugh. And I'm talking about like a belly laugh. Like I want you to feel it in your stomach, belly laugh. It's actually something my guru taught me, is that like laughing in your belly like finds a way to completely disrupt any negative emotions, stress, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, difficulty finding those solutions. It will explode the negative emotions, for lack of a better word. Literally, it explodes them. I don't know how it does it. I'll ask God when I meet him how it does it, but I bring this up as just a beautiful way that you're able to now come back into the present moment and enjoy working on whatever problem it is you're working on. Because if you're not enjoying the problem, you're going to make a really bad solution, and you're going to make a mistake in solving that problem. This is huge. The impact of what I just said there is actually extremely important to dive into. And let me repeat that. If you are not truly enjoying solving a problem, the solution that you create will be far more worse, quite frankly. It'll likely be worse than the previous problem. You have to enjoy, or at least be present with the problem that you are trying to solve. Otherwise, you are going to make the situation worse. And the consequences of this are extreme. Okay? I hesitated at the beginning of this podcast. I didn't want to go into this, but I think it's important to discuss this, because this was very difficult for me. Because I know when people talk about sitting in the present moment, very often people will say, well, how can you say that these things, well, hold on, it's not being in the present moment. It's, what is it? Oh, it's with like Buddhist mentality that everything's perfect right now. Okay? This perfectly overlaps. There's a Buddhist mentality where they say everything is perfect. And so then you have people who come in and say things along the lines of like, well, there's people starving, there's war, there's civilians getting killed. And don't get me wrong, yes, those are terrible things, horrendous things that we need to fix, and we can fix, and we will fix in society. We will fix those. But in order to fix them such that they are the most beneficial for everybody involved. We cannot approach those situations with anger, with stress, with anxiety, with fear. Otherwise, we are either A, not going to solve the problem, or B, we are going to make the problem worse. So the paradox comes in that one needs to find a way to be at peace with every single problem. And that even includes the most horrific ones. The most horrific ones that we can think about, from the killing of innocent people to the starvation of people, all of it. We have to find a way to be at peace with it if we want to create a beneficial solution. And I know that sounds difficult. And that's because it is difficult. It's very difficult. And honestly, this was part of my training whenever I was in India. My guru had me watching the news on repeat. And it wasn't just any news. It was them talking about the civilians that were being killed in Israel. An immense amount of anger was building up inside me regarding the people that were being killed in the Gaza Strip. I guess not in Israel technically, in Gaza. And anger was building up. And after time, I could just feel like I can't act on this. If I act on this anger, it's only going to make things worse. If you're acting from a place of anger and fear or shame or guilt, it's only going to make the situation worse. You have to become at peace with the most horrendous things, if you will, if you want to make a change for the better. I guess everything's going to change, right? But for the better. And not to mention, it helps you be at more peace with your own life, so that you don't have to carry the weight of that heaviness. So hopefully this gives you some insight into how one is able to become in the present moment. And even more so, use the example I'm using here, right? Let's end this on a high note, right? This will be very powerful too. This will be a very powerful visualization for all of us, as a matter of fact. This will be very powerful. What we're going to do is we're going to visualize ourselves 10 years in the future. All right, I'm going to close my eyes too here. This is going to be so powerful. Close my eyes. If you're driving machinery, don't do this. Hit pause and then come back once you're not operating machinery. Close your eyes. Now I want you to visualize 10 years in the future, and there's peace on earth. The news only reports beautiful things, how nobody was killed in war. It's reporting how earth is back in harmony and balance. And now, in this state, I want you to think back where we are at today and see if you can laugh at it. I know it might be difficult, but see if you can laugh at it. That we ever worried that we were never going to get out of it. That we were going to make the world worse off, if you will. And to see now, looking back, like, oh, that's how we got out of it. Was by being at peace with ourselves. Because by being at peace with ourselves, it created the world of peace. So with that being said, I appreciate you all. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of a glimpse into the art of the present, being in the present moment. I appreciate you all. And if you have any questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram Or you can hold on to your question for whenever we see each other in the 6th dimension.